Mr. Brand and members of the Board of Education. Good evening. Thank you. Is it on? I would like Chair of the Township Communication. I would like to recognize the Communication Committee for their valuable insight into this presentation. Our committee is composed of various members of the school and public sectors, including administrators, teachers, support staff, parents, and community members.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Good evening. Before we go into what we have been able to conclude and research over the course of the spring and winter months, I just wanted to go back to what we completed in the fall. Back in the fall, we did complete a communication survey, taking a look at two specific surveys, one for both parents and the community, and then also another one focusing with faculty and staff. And just some highlights of these communication surveys. All or above 80% respondents here really liked what has been occurring, especially with how we've been sending out electronic communications over the past several years. And also the respondents indicated that they really liked getting emails, the school messenger service, and also an application-based service in order to receive regular communication from our schools. As far as frequency, there was also very positive respondent information as far as the frequency, which in particular was at least at the quarterly level at the district, and also the weekly level coming from both the school and the classroom. As far as faculty and staff, they also really enjoy the electronic methods of communication, emails, apps, phone calls, all work well, both with how they receive information. They also really like utilizing those services in order to get the information out to the parents and community as well. As far as some things looking forward there from our fall survey, they did wish to see some improvement at with communication between the district and school-based academic teams. So moving forward, now over the course of the winter months and now the spring. The second step of our committee's action, we researched the different types of communication devices and frequencies of communication within neighboring school districts. Our committee also analyzed the current communication methods within our school district, really what we use, and compared them to the information that we gathered from these neighboring school districts, both to determine if they are doing something that's a little bit more effective than us. We also wanted to compare the frequency of their communication, the types of communication, in order to really initiate an action plan to see if we need to improve any of our methods.
The survey was conducted by members of the Communication Committee to review the communication methods that their districts utilize with parents, the community, and within the district faculty and staff. A variable within obtaining this information was the source that the information was obtained, as it did vary between individuals that held faculty, staff, and administrative positions. Overall, we were able to gain valuable information about both the methods of communication that were used in these other districts and the frequency of their communication methods. As noted, we intentionally obtained from all the districts that border our township, along with other nearby school districts.
So this slide is really a summary of some of the most important information that we were able to gather from that survey. And most of the districts discussed how they're utilizing social media to extend to their audience beyond those who receive just the automated phone calls, which would traditionally be your parents, faculty, and staff, in order to make sure that other people within the greater school community know about the wonderful things that we are doing, or that they are doing. Specific feedback included the use of external messaging services, such as Class Dojo, Remind, which are primarily used to communicate classroom and school-based announcements. School districts also cite the positive use of different newsletter and electronic messaging platforms for their ease of use, and also the methods of communication with parents and the community. It was quite comforting to see how many similarities with the different communication methods that these other neighboring school districts are using with the current methods that we're using. I was smiling when I saw how many times SMORE was listed. SMORE is something that we utilize for many of our newsletters that we have here within our district. How many times that Class Dojo, Remind were cited. Those are two different application services that many of our faculty members use when communicating with families. So it was really more of a reassurance of a lot of the communication methods that we're doing that these other neighboring districts are utilizing as well.
We would like to show the transparency of communication methods within our district as compared to other nearby districts. As you can see on the chart, our district utilizes a municipal organized cable station and YouTube channel. The cable station is available on Comcast and Verizon. We lucked out there. Along with multiple social media outlets. Altogether, there are more methods of community communication than many of the other districts surveyed. So once again, looking at that fall survey and knowing that parents overwhelmingly responded quite favorably about our current communication methods, we wanted to really see, well, what are we doing real well? What are we going to continue to enhance? And also, what level of continuity do we have here within our district? That if, let's say, one grade level or one span of grade levels is doing something really well, what can we use that they're doing well in order to kind of grab hold of it and use it throughout the course of the district? So we are going to continue with our current communication practices. And when I say that, we're specifically mentioning the utilization of electronic means to communicate with families. This would include the distribution of a weekly message at the school level, and also regular communication from the classroom teachers. Based on the survey of other districts, we will be endeavoring to update our practices for the upcoming school year by increasing the frequency and methods of communication at that classroom level, specifically with utilizing Class Dojo across the district. All schools will be creating a monthly calendar, and finally, through regular communication to families and the community through our district office on at least a quarterly basis. Dojo, we felt, was going to be a monumental change. We know how well it is used and really well received at Jamir School. That was really, it was very explicit when looking at our survey. The results were quite overwhelming with that. And just with the general ease of use and being able to get really what we perceive our message, what we want our message to look like, we're going to be using that pre-K through 6. The district will strive to increase their frequency of events on the municipal channel, television, and YouTube. On the television, it is channel 9 on Comcast and channel 30 on Verizon. The Verizon one goes outside the township limits, where the Comcast is strictly township-based. This will exceed well beyond just televising Board of Education meetings, but to also include the sharing of positive events occurring within our schools, such as music concerts and other school-oriented events. The district will also continue to push out positive information via social media platforms, specifically on Facebook and Twitter.
So we did not want to forget about the other half of our communications analysis here, and that would be the communication with faculty and staff. Some continuation practices here, especially at the school level. Not only do we push out weekly communication to all parents and the community, we also put out a weekly message to all of our faculty and staff members as well. So that will be coming from the school level. We're going to be continuing to deliver information via electronic methods, which was a preferable method from the faculty and staff. Taking a look at how we're going to communicate with others, especially those who do not speak English as their native language. Just as we have within our school, we have also purchased some time kettle translated earbuds over at the district office, which are used during the registration process. So this way we can communicate with families who do not speak English when they're trying to register their children. And once they do register, we want to make sure that there's adequate accessibility of all of our communications to families that do not speak English as their primary language. So it's really a continuation to make sure that we have translation opportunities both on our website, SMORE with our newsletter, and also other publications that we're sending out, whether it be the use of Google Translate to just easily translate a PDF document, such as a permission slip. We're really using the technology that's out there that we're currently utilizing in order to make sure that those notices and notifications either go home in the native language or are accessible for that family in their native language. Some updated practices, we are continuously going to be looking at how we can promote and enhance communication from the district to the school, to the grade level team, to the individual faculty and staff member. And that's what I'm really referencing there by saying to the communication between the DLC, the SLC, and the DLC levels. And ongoing professional learning. I mentioned Class Dojo is one communication platform, but other communication platforms that we might be able to identify, whether it be this summer or over the course of the next school year, that might be proven to be effective, we recognize that we definitely need to provide professional learning opportunities if we're trying to implement something new. And that leads us with our next steps for the Communication Action Committee. As I just mentioned, we definitely recognize that we need to provide further professional learning on Class Dojo. We want to continue our relationship that we have with the Township's Communication Commission. It truly has been a very nice asset for us to have Mr. Morris as part of our committee. We've had many conversations at our committee about how we can enhance our message, our branding, to the community. We want them to know the wonderful things that are occurring in all three of our schools. And that will only strengthen the message of our district if we do so. We're also going to continue to determine the methods of enhancing consistent communication. So that's consistency from school to school, consistency from classroom to classroom, about the types of instructional content, as well as how well the students are understanding that information. And also, once again, continuing to foster the improved lines of communication between the district and individual faculty and staff members. Once again, on behalf of Mr. Morris, our entire communications committee, we'd like to thank you for inviting us up to give this update and presentation tonight.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Morris, and the rest of the committee for your dedication. Are there any board member questions?
I have a question.
Mr. Pugh?
Yeah.
I'm assuming that we'll get an update in regards to what these steps are going to look like implementation-wise for next year. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is the update for right now. This is a work in progress. So working with our professional learning extensions, we're going to constantly be moving on communication.
Okay, thank you.
And it's not just implementing the new elements, it's
Right.
also analyzing to make sure that what was effective this past fall is continuously still effective. We want to make sure that we still have at least 80%, we go more than 80%, but that was a pretty nice target for us. So we want to make sure we continue with that.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause especially with the communication within the district itself. And how that's, I know that's the idea to improve, but just getting an idea of what steps we're taking and how those are working.
And that's something that Mrs. Graff and I were both on our DLC. That's something that we've brought up actually the past couple of DLC meetings. I know speaking with Mrs. Golden, Mr. Lawton, that's something that's almost going to be a consistent agenda item to analyze both how it's been working and also what else can we do to improve it.
So I'm assuming that response from staff to improve communication between district and
It's once again, it's that DLC, SLC, PLC relationship. You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Bruce.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond.